Back to Access Tech Live.
And we're having fun today going through your questions. This is fun, right, Mark? I'm enjoying myself.
Fun. It's supposed to be
all
fun,
these listener questions.
Yeah, come on. It's supposed to be fun. That's the whole point of this. And we've got an email here from Jamie in Halifax. Remember Halifax, Stephen? It's not a bank. It's that place I was in at International Albinism Awareness Day. Jamie writes, Hi, my husband is slowly losing his vision. He loves playing games growing up, but he's worried that he won't be able to play anymore. Any ideas, Stephen?
Well, look, when it comes to gaming, there's only one guy I ever go to, and that is Steve Saylor. He's known as the Blind Gamer online and on YouTube. Let's hear what he had to say in response to this question.
Hi, I'm Steve Saylor, commonly known as the Blind Gamer, and that's a really great question. Video game accessibility has come a long way just in the short 10-year span that accessibility has been a big part of the industry, or at least known within the industry. It was in the background for a couple years beforehand, but we're really starting to see a lot more push for accessibility, like I said, in the past decade. And especially for not only just games for like with many different types of accessibility for different types of disabilities, from motor accessibility to cognitive to deaf and hard of hearing, but also for blind accessibility. Probably the most famous game that's out there that became sort of the poster child for blind accessibility was the Last of Us series. If you know it from the HBO show that came out a couple years ago, and you've heard about the show or the game that it's based on, The Last of Us. Last of Us Part 2, when it came out, was a game that was extremely accessible for a lot of disabilities, but was fully playable by a majority of the people in the blindness spectrum, from anyone from totally sightless players to just those who have low vision. And not only did Naughty Dog, who created the game, was able to create the sequel to The Last of Us, make it accessible, they actually went back and remade the first game. So not only to be able to make it compatible with the second game, but also make it accessible as well. So you can play the entire, both Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 completely with even if you don't have any vision whatsoever. It is extremely accessible with that. There's a lot of games and they keep getting better. So if you're worried about the future for blind accessible games, this is now a really good time, because it's honestly, it's really great to be able to, it's going to be really great to be a blind gamer in the future.
And even right now, I would say as well, thank you so much to Steve Saylor, of course, the Blind Gamer, for giving us the answer to that question. You know, I am not a gamer. I never was. And I think part of it was because I just really thought I couldn't play those games. And Steve and I are quite similar in that regard. He, of course, has jumped right into this. And I kind of feel I'd love to. And it feels the more and more of these games are actually becoming accessible. So this is fantastic timing to get into this. And for those especially who are losing their vision, who loved gaming, to be able to continue playing in a new way, I think is just fantastic. So liberating.
Stephen, I got a tweet here from Ryan in Westlake Village, California. It goes, should I upgrade my iPad to the newest generation? I still have an old one with an A processor. Will I notice a difference? Okay, I mean, I think you and I can feel this pretty well. And the answer is, at this point, I think you will. Definitely, if you're running an A processor, we're at least 3 years old at this point? If you were maybe on an M1 from last couple of years, M1 or M2, I would say don't bother. But definitely from the A processors, I'm noticing a big speed difference. Have you noticed it?
Well, look, I got myself, and I don't till to this day know why, I bought myself the largest screen iPad I could find, because I like to annoy myself. So I got the new M2 Mac, no, not MacBook, iPad Air. I get mixed up with all these different products. But yeah, the M2 iPad Air, which is really nice, really light, great screen as well, because it's 13-inch, which is kind of amazing. So I would definitely recommend looking at that. But then I must admit the iPad mini was really cute, and that's not been upgraded now for a number of years. I hope it hasn't disappeared the same way that the iPhone mini has disappeared. So fingers crossed it gets updated, because that would be really cool if we could get to a point where that was available with an M processor, because that was the best iPad ever.
Okay, I'll go with that. And speaking of iPads, Stephen, speaking of iPads, Tiffany Milburn is watching our stream right now on YouTube, and she goes, is it possible to set up a Ring doorbell without sighted help? I have one, but I'm having trouble getting it set up. You have a Ring, don't you?
Yes, and unfortunately, I've got to say, Tiffany, great question, but sadly not. You're going to have somebody, you're going to have to get some sighted assistance to do that, because it is not the easiest thing to do. First off, you've got to get the doorbell up onto the wall. You can, of course, stick some of them on, but if you want to have it drilled on, then if you can do that, that's great. But when it comes to actually doing this through the app, actually setting it up through the app, it is very difficult to do because it's not accessible. Now, interestingly, we are looking into the Blink doorbells as well, because even though it's all from the same company, Amazon, the Blink doorbells seem to be a little bit more accessible out of the box. So we're looking into this. Maybe next season we can dive into that in a bit more detail for you, Tiffany. But if you are trying it, you're going to probably need some help. Let us know how you get on, though. We'd love to hear how that goes.
I know there's also options even from Belkin. Wemo has a doorbell that's really great, and I know their apps are fully accessible. So are the Ikubi ones. They actually put a focus on accessibility with those. I know she has that one already and trying to get it set up, but if you can return, you might want to. We got a question sent in by video, Stephen, from Stuart in Montreal.
I'm sitting here in my home office and I realize I don't have enough USB ports on my laptop. Is there a dock or a USB hub you can recommend?
Okay, interesting one. I actually have some options for this, Stephen. I'm holding up to the camera right now a Kensington dock. They've sent me a bunch of different docks over the years to play, and this is one of the fun ones because it's powered, so it'll power your laptop or your device that's plugged into it with one USB-C cable, and it's not necessarily, you don't have to be Thunderbolt, it can be just a newer laptop. You'll get 2 extra USB-A ports on the front, 4 USB-A ports on the back. You'll get 2 HDMI or DisplayPort outs. I mean, this is an example of something that also has SD card reader, headphone jack, but they make docks in all shapes and sizes and hubs. I know you've got one there from Microsoft, right?
Yeah, so this one's kind of old, and what I mean by old is it's been out for like 2 weeks, and Microsoft have discontinued it. Because what's happened here ultimately is Microsoft had a brand called Modern, which they were using to essentially sell things like USB-C speakers, headsets, that kind of thing. Essentially office tools, webcams, all that. Well, they also included this. This is the Microsoft Audio Dock. It is still available. You can still buy it, and it will still be supported by Microsoft, I'm sure, like everything, for many years to come. Because it's actually pretty simple. So it is a docking station, but it has additional functionality. So along the top here, you have a range of buttons, very tactile as well, which is cool. You've got a Teams button on here because, of course, Microsoft Teams integration built right in. You can press the Teams button. It will open up the Teams app. You've got volume up and down. You've got a mute button as well. And on the back of it, you have actual inputs here, which is cool. I was kind of mentioning this earlier. They've got tactile bumps on them as well, so you can know which one is meant to go where. Although it doesn't signify much to me, to be perfectly honest. Line, dot, dot, 2 dots. I don't get it, but whatever. There's a place where you put the power socket. There is an HDMI port. There are 2 USB-Cs, and there is also an HDMI port for plugging in a monitor. Couple of really cool things about this. One is it is an audio dock, meaning it has a speaker built in, quite a beefy little speaker. Not the best for audio for listening to music, but great for Teams calls because, of course, it has the speakerphone built in, hence why all the controls at the top. And the whole thing is controlled and certainly plugged into your laptop, which provides charging as well to your laptop. And the great thing is that the USB cable attached to this does not disconnect. So you never have to go, where is that USB-C to USB-C cable I had lying around here? You don't need to worry about that anymore. It's already built in. This is a great little dock, and they're selling it for half price, $105 Canadian on Amazon right now, which isn't bad.
No, not bad at all, Stephen. I love the interactivity of the show. Tiffany wrote back to us after you answered about the Blink doorbell. She goes, I used to have the Blink doorbell. It was accessible to set up, but the 2-way audio feature wouldn't work, so she could never answer the door. Thank you, Tiffany, for watching. We really do appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who submitted questions. We're going to take a quick break because when we come back, I've got the confetti cannon. It's got some technical issues. I'm not sure I'm going to get it working, but we're going to put a big bow on the season. So do stick around. This is Ask Us Anything here on Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back.